I was 6 years old when I found the Playboy on my dad's bedside table. I thought it was really weird, all these pictures of naked ladies. Like in first grade for picture day, we were encouraged to get dressed up. These women were so unprepared for their picture day. Felt kind of bad. But I'm looking through these pictures, and I didn't think I really cared because I had seen naked women before. My parents both would walk back from the shower to their bedroom naked, so I knew the deal, I knew the parts, I knew, the general gist of things. But looking at these pictures, something was different. I noticed it was causing a very visceral, intense physiological reaction, and it was so weird. Like, how could looking at something with my eyes cause such an intense transformation in this other random little part of my body? So I went downstairs, and my mom's sitting on the couch, she's knitting, and I said, "Hey, Mom, there's this magazine in Dad's bedside table, and it's got pictures of naked ladies. And when I looked at it, my penis stood up." And my mom was totally unfazed, didn't even blink. She stopped knitting, she looked up, and she said, "Well, that's because sometimes a man and a woman want to make a baby. And to make a baby, they have to put the man's penis inside the woman. And to do that, well, the man's penis has to stand up." Why? My head was, I guess I get, if I'm sitting down in a room and I want to go in another room, I have to stand up. It just seems like a lot of work and kind of gross. Anyway, I discarded it. I figured I'm going to go play with my Hot Wheel cars. Didn't think about it till the next day when my mom returned home from the public library with a book called How Babies Are Made. And this book was written for children, and it was describing sex. And it had very explicit, cartoon drawings of doggies doing it, and kitties doing it, and chickens doing it. No drawings of humans doing it. So I only knew the one position for several years. And I leafed through the book. I was like, this is weird. I gave it back to her, and I didn't think about that book again for another 5 years. 5 years later, I'm 11 years old, and now I'm much different than that 6-year-old. Society has taught me shame and humiliation and embarrassment, and the idea of discussing any kind of intimacy with my parents is mortifying. If they bring up girls or crushes, I turn bright red and I run to my room and hide in shame. I don't want to have any kind of discussion with my parents about that. And that summer, we went on a camping trip to Nova Scotia. And one night we set up the tent near this cliff. And that night, this huge windstorm comes rolling in, crazy windstorm, gusts of up to 80 miles per hour. So throughout the night, the tent's rocking back and forth, and it's the three of us are crammed in this small tent. And I keep waking up through the night because the fly on the tent is flapping really hard against the tent. And one of the times I wake up, and I hear this other noise inside the tent, coming from where my mom and dad are, just a couple of feet away. So this book didn't prepare me for what sex sounded like, because it wasn't like a See and Say book. It didn't have the pig says oink, the man says oh. So there are these sounds, and it did not sound good. It sounded like people were getting hurt. And so I covered my ears, and I hoped that the wind would get louder and it would just go away. And I didn't think about that night again till about 10 years later, I'm 22, and I'm coming home to visit my parents, and I'm bringing my girlfriend, Jeanette. But now, even though my other friends have grown up and matured, and they are now able to have discussions of intimacy with their parents, I am not. I have kept that shoved far down. I want to keep that part of my life and my parents very separate. So much so that when I bring Jeanette home, like, I won't kiss her in front of them. I'm keeping like a 7-foot like buffer zone between her and, like, I don't want it coming up. Those are separate things. So while she's visiting, my parents suggest, like, hey, why don't we go camping? So we pack up the car and we drive up to the Finger Lakes, and we find a campsite, and we set up the tent. We have just one tent that all of us are going to sleep in. And we get in there, and this storm comes in. Seriously, another storm. This one's like a rain and thunderstorm, and just pouring with rain and huge thunderclaps all through the night. And these thunderclaps keep waking me up. And at one point, I wake up and I feel this tug at the zipper on my sleeping bag, and it's Jeanette. I mean, thankfully, if it wasn't, that would be a different story. It was Jeanette, and I'm like, no, this cannot. What does she do? We can't do this. My parents are literally a couple feet away. Like, please, no, we can't. But what are you gonna do? So I won't go into details, but things happen, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, what if my parents wake up? And I briefly think, maybe I'll say, like, how do you like it? But I don't think they woke up, thank God. We were not doing see and say. There was no noises. And the next morning, I felt so ashamed. I felt like horrified at what had happened in that tent with my parents. It was even more traumatic than the night in Nova Scotia. And that made me want even less to talk to them about anything to do with sex or intimacy or what have you. So I didn't think about any of that for another, 10 years. So I'm 33, and I have a different girlfriend. Her name's Teresa, and we have a pregnancy scare, and it turns out to be a false alarm. But there's a couple weeks where I am really freaking out, and I don't know what to do, and I need to talk to people, and I'm talking to my friends, and it's not enough. I need to talk to my parents. I really do. So I suck it up, and I call up my mom, and she's like, hey, what's up? And I was like, remember that book with the doggies and the kitties, and you brought it back after my penis stood up, and honestly, my penis has been standing up a bunch the last 10 years. I didn't say that, but we did, we talked about intimacy and relationships and parenting and having a child, and it was really nice. It was nice to finally be able to talk to my parents about this stuff, and it's nice to know that now I can talk to them about anything and everything, just like I could when I was 6 years old. But I don't think I'm going to be going camping with them again anytime soon.
Steve Whyte, everyone.